Hey, I'm Chase and this is All Things Random. Today, we're talking about the JFR, a Swiss watch you've never heard of. Now, why is it a Swiss watch that you've never heard of? Well, before we hop into that, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, it really does help the video. Well, JFR stands for Jeffrey Frank Ransom, my father-in-law. This watch is a watch that I built myself, sourced out all the materials from Switzerland. They say that to get the Swiss brand on a watch, it has to have at least 60% of the components from Switzerland and cased in Switzerland itself. Well, this was not cased in Switzerland. This was technically cased in Alaska, but every part was sourced out of Switzerland, and I know because I paid the price for it. Now, I could have easily sourced some things out of China or Germany, and it would have been a little cheaper. However, my father-in-law is like me, and he's very passionate about watch collecting. So I wanted to make sure that the quality was there. Now let's flip the camera around and dive into this short review. And here is the aviation style watch in all of its glory. You can see that it has a wonderful carbon fiber dial, has an awesome secondhand propeller at that 9 o'clock, and it has some nice red accents around the dial. Now, when I was choosing everything for this watch, it really is difficult to find pieces and parts that don't just fit together, but actually work well together. The overall look of the watch is extremely important. My hat's off to most designers. Now, as we get into this watch, let's first go over the dimensions of the watch itself. This watch is 42 millimeters in diameter, has a lug width of 20 millimeters, so a standard size, a case thickness of just under 13. The case material is 316L stainless steel with a high polish throughout, which I think really goes along with this style, and it has an onion style crown that I, of course, chose to match everything together. It has a carbon fiber strap to match the carbon fiber dial, and then you can see here on the back, I did choose an open case back because of this manual wind ETA 6497 movement. Now, this is a more top quality tier movement out of the ETA movements. It's not the best because you can still get something called a swan neck, which allows some micro adjustments on it. But this does have some nice decoration because if you're going to have an open case back, you need to have the decoration. Well, I'm going to talk about just how much this movement was to get. Now, here is an example online of how much a decorated movement similar to the one I have, mine is slightly more decorated if you look at the gears, $450 compared to a non-decorated movement here, also retailed at $280. Now, some of the information on these movements are they do beat at a lower beat rate at 18,000 vibrations per hour, so the beat rate is slightly lower, so it's not nearly as smooth of a tick, but that's why I'm happy to choose the 6497 that has the second hand at the 9 o'clock. Now, overall, I think this is generally a great looking movement, and I spent a long time looking at this movement when I got it. Now, let's talk about the dial. The dial is a carbon fiber dial, and again, it does have that second hand at the 9 o'clock. I chose this propeller sort of style because I like the aviation look. Now, everything on this dial was pieced together separately. The dial itself was from a Swiss company where you can go through and design different style dials. I had to go through a separate company to design the logo, and when I designed the logo, it was 5 logos for $150, so definitely not cheap at all. I'm sure if I ordered 10,000 logos, it would be far cheaper, but you can see that everything just fits perfectly on this watch. You can see that logo, though separately from a separate company, matches up perfectly with that 12, that 3, that 6, and the overall image of the watch just, to me, has some great depth, some great detail, and I just love the way it turned out. Now, anybody can do something like this if you have the time and the patience. Remember, everything was sourced out. The hour hand and the minute hand were sourced out separate than the second hand. The dial and the style of the dial and the design of the dial was sourced out differently than the case. The case was sourced out differently than the crown, the onion style crown there. Same thing with the movement, same thing with the strap. And the original strap that I actually put on this watch was an alligator strap, a Louisiana alligator strap. The only problem was it was slightly too small for my father-in-law's wrist, so I chose this carbon fiber strap as a second one to go in the custom watch box that I made for him. Now you can see the overall depth of this watch. To me, I love to look at it. When I first put it together, when I first cased everything together, I just spent a good solid hour just watching the gears move, watching that balance wheel beat, and overall, again, it's wonderful when you can design something and you can put something together and then it's yours. Overall, you can see the sort of decoration on the gears as I'm turning the barrel there. You can see that it has a nice like S curve to it. Again, just overall beauty, and you pay for the beauty. Could I have used a solid case back? Yes, I could, and I could have used the cheaper movement. But it has a presence to it that only an open case back would allow you to have. You can see that it has the blued screws. You can see the jewels there. It's only a 17 jewel movement, Swiss made, and honestly, it really does show quality. Now let's toss it on the wrist. Now this is the watch on my wrist. My wrist is 7¼ inches. Again, this is 42 millimeters in diameter, and I believe the lug to lug is just under 50. So it's not a small watch by any means, but it's also not overbearing. It's not like having a giant Breitling on your wrist. But again, 42 millimeters does sit slightly large. But overall, I think it sits very comfortably on the wrist. He wears it only for special occasions. Normally he wears his Yachtmaster that I reviewed not that long ago. But overall, you can't tell me it's not beautiful. Now, my father-in-law does not live here in Alaska. He's visiting from North Carolina and brought the watch for me to review. However, when it came to this watch, I did everything to build the watch box out of a rare purple wood. I glazed coated it so it have a nice glossy finish, and even did the interior so it all looked like its own watch brand. Maybe one day he can ship everything to me and I can do an all-encompassing review on everything because I made sure that every detail was there. Now, if you like videos like this, hit that subscribe button once again down below. Leave a comment on the content you guys would like to see on this channel. Sunday episode coming up in 2 days. Hit that notification bell so you guys can be notified when I drop my next video. Until next time.